earlier is the possibility. I think it was it was Pete Thamel that had a list back in the day, and that sort of felt like that one. But those are the two for Alabama and Auburn. You bounce around to some others for Georgia, Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina. It's the Tennessee one that I think really rung your bell. Tennessee's rivalries, Alabama, but then they get their two, it's all their big rivals technically, Kentucky, Vandy, and Alabama, but if you've watched modern-day Tennessee football, that's not their best TV games.
No, I mean, Georgia and Florida, we grew up at a time in the 90s, the Florida-Tennessee game was the game of the decade every single year in the SEC, and it was, unfortunately for Tennessee, it was the game that decided who was going to represent the East in the SEC championship game, and, more so it went the way for Florida, but to not see that on a year-in, year-out schedule is pretty disappointing. But, look, this is difficult to do. We talked about it for the last few months anytime it would come up on how difficult this thing actually is to do.
If I'm Tennessee today, though, that's the one that's laughing.
Oh, they got to love it.
I mean, I knew I was going to play Alabama. If I'm Tennessee, I knew I was going to play Alabama. But, boy, I get Vanderbilt and Kentucky every year. Are you kidding me?
Man, it is hard to believe. Week 4 already in the books. College football 2025. Week 3 goes in the books after tonight when we see the Ravens host the Detroit Lions. We will get into that game and everything right here on Unlocked with Brock Huard, brought to you by mybookie.ag. Hey, look, if you're new to MyBookie, use that promo code NEXTROUND. Any bet you choose, up to $500, fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. Code word NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag. Hello, friend. Welcome in. I want to start with what I have described as maybe the most disappointing regular season loss in my Ram fandom. Fortunately, you got to see a lot of that game because your Seahawks didn't kick to the late games where they dominated the Saints. I tweeted this out, and look, I am a guy that is very superstitious. People say, are you superstitious, you-stitious? I'm very superstitious. So I try to stay away from the jinx, but at halftime of that game, only up 19-7, I tweeted out that is the best. Take away the first drive where Rams turn it over, Eagles go down, they use tush-push twice, they get in the end zone there. But outside of the first 2 possessions, that was the best 30 minutes of a Sean McVay defense I have ever seen. Then they go out, second play from scrimmage in the second half, a strip sack, or not even a strip sack, just a pulverization from Jared Verse, on Jalen Hurts. He fumbles, Rams get it, they score, they go up 26-7. That game was over. I don't know how you can explain how they were able to flip the script on what was such a dominant defense, and then you get the unthinkable 2 block kicks in the fourth quarter, both very, very makeable kicks. I don't even know where to start here. Can we start with the special teams? I know you were a quarterback, but that is one phase we never talk about, are special teams. You hear coaches that are very buttoned up, 3 phases, offense, defense, special teams. Special teams ultimately, I know the defense didn't play good in the second half, ultimately lost that game because Joshua Carty, very good kicker, inside of 44 is automatic, and 2 of them blocked. How does that happen?
Feel better, Lance?
No.
Getting all that out? Does that make you feel better?
I was disgusted yesterday. Absolutely disgusted, because you know how important these games are. Say what you want, it's only 3 weeks in, but home field in the NFC, if you've got to go and play in Philadelphia in the snow, you saw it last year.
Yeah, and to play, so as you said, to your ceiling in that first half in every way, offense, defense, special teams, to have that lead in that house with, I think most people would put the Eagles with maybe the Ravens and the Bills as a top 3 or 4 roster in all the NFL. There's no debate about that. It's one of the best teams going, and to just go into their house and borderline humiliate them through the first 30-something minutes of it. I don't ever feel, even with maybe yesterday with the Seahawks up 38-3, I felt good because they're playing the Saints. That's about it in the NFL. It's, what do they say in hockey or soccer? A 2-0 lead is is like one of the worst leads you can have because you're one goal away from the momentum turning and yada, yada, yada. I don't know what it is in the NFL. There's really never, ever, ever, ever a time where I'm like, oh, this is good, especially if you're playing a good quarterback and a competent team in their house. You knew Philly was going to make a run, but then to have, yeah, as you said, the self-inflicted mistakes and to have it in that phase of it is just a killer. That plane ride home, trust me, I've been on some brutal plane ride homes in my life. That plane ride home is miserable as it gets yesterday because you have it. You're there. You're going to be 3-0. You're going to have, like, who cares about all the outside talk? Getting on that plane, like, look at what we just did, boys. We just went into their house and found a way to spank them, and we're 3-0. And to flip it around and turn it right on its head, that is a miserable 5.5-hour flight back across the country to land in LA. And no, you gave one away.
And to put it in perspective, teams up 19 in the second half over the last 2 seasons in the NFL, 193-2. 193-2. I don't get it. Anyway, bad loss for the Rams. Great win for the Eagles. There were some unexplainable things that happened in the National Football League yesterday, like the 0-2 Panthers taking on the 1-1 Falcons and winning 30-0. And Michael Penix, a guy that you covered a lot on your Fox career, so much potential, so many weapons offensively. How they get, first of all, a shutout in the NFL is crazy. But how you get shut out by an 0-2 team and look that bad offensively, are you concerned for Michael Penix right now?
I do have a little concern for him, Lance. I loved him as a collegiate player. Obviously, the heights he took my alma mater to, an unbelievable ride. Arguably, I know the 91 Husky team ended up going 12-0, but in college football today, you've got to go 16-0. So to be where they were at 15-0, and in the way he did it that season with Rome and Jalen and all the weapons and Kalen and Grubby just firing on every cylinder, it was awesome. But I also saw the other side of Penix. I saw him at Indiana, where it was really rough, where he was beaten up physically, mentally, emotionally. I think I've shared this story with you before, Lance, how in a production meeting we had Indiana that year, and it was like, yeah, I don't know where Michael is. Like he had a separated shoulder at that point after ACL, after a shoulder injury, and he was just physically just done and broken. And Kalen and Grubb and UW put him together like Humpty Dumpty and had an unbelievable run. But I knew that was in the background. And I also know how hard the NFL is, how brutally difficult and demanding it is physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, in every way, playing quarterback. So I got a little watch on that one. I'm not predicting, failure. I'm rooting like heck for him. But to say that, oh, yeah, unequivocally, he's, Jalen Daniels, or he's, one of these young guys that had a lot more, predictability. I think there was more volatility. I think people were surprised Atlanta made that move after paying Kirk Cousins, and now we're going to have to see him really respond to some adversity for the first time as a pro.
I think you would agree with this. Having a plan is always a good thing. So survivor pools. My plan, for anybody out there that was listening, just play against the Saints every week. They are not going to win a game. And I'm being serious. Like, they've got the Giants coming up in a couple of weeks and the Patriots at home. But you look at the schedule, and they've got the Panthers and the Jets late in the season at home. But this Saints team is absolutely pathetic. I was surprised how competitive they were the first 2 weeks, in comebacks against the Cardinals and the 49ers. But I think the true colors of the Saints going on the road yesterday, playing your Seahawks, I think they were obvious. This is a terrible team. I mean, congratulations to your Seahawks, but how bad is this Saints product right now?
Well, currently, and in the game yesterday, it was really bad because they had a left guard playing for the first time in his career, right tackle that can't play. So they have injuries on an offensive line they cannot afford. They have some pieces defensively. They do, second level in the secondary. They still have some guys up front that can cause you some issues, though a little bit aged and slowed down from what they were. But yeah, I mean, if the Eagles and the Ravens are at the top of the food chain, you kind of know the bottom of the food chain and what they're doing and how they're going about it this year and playing Spencer and a little bit of Shuck. You'll probably see Shuck a little bit more in what's going to be a totally lost season. But yeah, my buddy Kellen Moore, you know where he grew up? He grew up in the Horse Heaven Hills of Prosser, Washington. Horse Heaven Hills should resonate with you, Lance, because that's one of the appellations of passing time wine.
Oh, I trust me. I was reading all about passing time, and I was enjoying that really soft, silky cab right here on set when
Yes,
your brother,
yes.
although he cost me a lot of money and a remote control, when he sent me a bottle to try to make up for that.
Correct.
And
But
by
it's
the way,
going to be rough for
Kellen Moore,
Kellen.
one of the best college quarterbacks I've ever seen.
Oh, he was phenomenal. And you know what? One of the guys, I don't think this is inappropriate to say, but Chris Peterson, in the role that he's in now, doing some television, is really an amazing mentor to a lot of coaches. And a lot of them reach out to him and connect with him and lean into him. And Kellen Moore would be right at the top of the list as an assistant in the league, as a coordinator, taking that job ultimately in New Orleans. So I know that Chris was watching that game, like a lot of Kellen Moore fans were watching that game going, oh, goodness gracious. Special teams. You want to talk special teams. Seahawks took a punt back 95. They blocked a punt. I mean, the special teams was so one-sided. And for a young guy in his first job as a head coach, it is going to be if Penix is going to face some adversity. The old southpaw from Prosser on to Boise, he's gonna suffer a lot of it this season. His first year as a head man.
Two more points on the NFL real quick. And by the way, your special teams coordinator, our buddy Ian Fitzsimmons' brother Devin, is that guy. So I just wanted to specifically ask you before we get to tonight's Detroit-Baltimore game, how can you have this many block kicks in the NFL on one day? Massive block in the Green Bay-Cleveland game. Massive block it could have been with the Jets in Tampa, the scoop and score. And then obviously the two with the Eagles, and you saw one in your game. I mean, you just don't see block kicks a lot in the NFL.
No, you don't. And, you try to answer that as to why. So are these kickers who are kicking the ball farther than they ever have in their life? To do so, is it a little bit less trajectory? I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure they were next level stats that study everything of launch angles and everything. Could that be part of it? Because there is a trade-off when you're kicking at 65 yards. You're not maybe getting as immediate an air. I don't know. That's just a hypothesis. Is there a hyper focus because of the new kickoff rules? That, oh my gosh, we are really going to be locked in and be on every detail. We just got off. It's fun talking to you, Lance, on these Monday mornings, because literally I run out here from my one studio that has a green screen to out here in my basement. So you can see, there's Husky Stadium back in the day. It's going to be lit up Saturday, by the way. But Mike McDonald was saying, yeah, man, we chase every single edge. Jay Harbaugh, the head special teams coach with the Seahawks, Mike couldn't speak more glowingly of, and had such a background in Michigan, coaching offense, coaching defense, now coaching the special teams. Is there I don't think there's any more hyper attentive attitude to it, but does a new rule change just bring even more of that to the forefront? I think all hypotheses, but yeah, you're right. Kind of quirky, kind of weird early in the season to see so many block kicks and so many explosive plays in the special teams phase as well.
Ben Johnson gets his first win as a head coach as Chicago jumps on Dallas early. They get the win there. Aaron Glenn almost got his first win as the head coach for the New York Jets, but both of those guys, former offensive and defensive coordinators under Dan Campbell in Detroit. Detroit looked really bad week one in Green Bay. Then they bounced back. They put 52 on Chicago, and now they head into a 1-1 Baltimore squad that can put up some big numbers. Right now, Baltimore minus 4.5, a total of 53.5. How do you see Detroit at Baltimore playing out tonight?
Yeah, one of these teams will be 1-2, which is going to be weird to say, right? And you could kind of look at the schedule, out the gate, know that the Ravens were playing the Bills and we're playing Detroit and we're playing some pretty elite competition, and it probably wasn't going to be 3-0. But man, it's a little different world to dig yourself out being 1-2 versus 2-1, and just kind of the early season vibe. It doesn't mean anything. I don't think it's totally predictive of what it's going to look like the rest of the way, but this would probably quiet some of the fears. Not probably, it would. For those folks in Detroit who, have looked at teams in the past. You look at the Seattle Seahawks and the run, they were on, Lance, 12, 13, 14, 15. You know what happened beyond the player and Father Time catching up with guys? There was also a massive coaching change and overhaul and drain. Teams went and got Dan Quinn, went and got Gus Bradley, went and got guys. And obviously Detroit and Dan Campbell going through that with two new coordinators. So you go to Baltimore and win, any of those worries week one of, look at this. We lose Aaron Glenn and we lose our head, coach of the Bears. We lose our coordinator on both sides of it. We're going to be in trouble. I think it would kind of quiet some of those fears. And in Baltimore to start 1-2, it would kind of hype up the urgency. Like, come on, Lamar. Come on, boys. Like, I know you want to get to a Super Bowl. It'd be a lot easier if it went through Baltimore rather than out on the road somewhere. So, yeah, an early season, pretty big game Monday night.
People looking to play Monday night's game, you can do it at mybookie.ag, sides, totals, player props, whatever it is. Use that promo code NEXTROUND in any bet you choose, up to $500, fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using the BetBack bonus token. Code word NEXTROUND at mybookie.ag. Before we shift to college football, let's go back to Friday night. Your son Titus, you're on the sidelines. Tight ends coach Brock Huard, formerly the one of the best analyst in the game for Fox, is now being a really, really good dad and has become a coach. How did Friday night go? Where did you guys play? And how did Titus ultimately play?
Yeah, first home opener Friday night. I shot you a little video there right as we started. I apologize. Could have sent that to you a little earlier. So tight ends coach is up in the booth, coach guy. So head coach Mike Sanford said to me before the year, I think I'd like to have you up there. And it's funny, Lance, seeing these games, it's almost I'm not talking through them like I would in a broadcast, but I am taking notes and kind of look at the big themes and look at some play calling and what's working and what's the rhythm, like I did up there in the booth as an analyst. So I am enjoying that. It's made the transition a little easier. And yeah, packed house. We had about 5,000 in the house for the season home opener after 3 on the road. And we took it to a good team. You'll see one of the clips I sent you. Titus took as hard a hit as you can take from a Michigan commit. This kid is 6'6.5", put on a show. We had a hard time blocking him. He made one-handed catches, going to be a tight end, D-end at Michigan. Really good player. But Ty made a throw I could never make. Ty made a throw that Uncle Luke and Uncle Damon could never make. He made a throw that was, when it left his hand too, I was like, oh, crap. Because from the booth, you kind of see the whole picture. And even the head coach was like, oh, no, because the safety was there for a deep post. And somehow that ball just carried and carried and carried and carried in ways that I could never do. So it was a pretty fun one. But Friday on the road, top 5 matchup in state. We'll really know who we are Friday night. Kind of looking forward to it.
I tell you what, when I'm at the house, I don't do anything on Friday nights. I've gotten really boring. I'm going to ask you where that link is because I want to watch this. Okay. And did you say Mike Sanford, the former Boise State quarterback, dude that was the offensive coordinator for Notre Dame?
Yeah.
I thought this guy, and not to take any digs, you guys are both on the sideline and maybe the best coaching staff in all of high school football right now, but I thought the sky was the limit for ultimately the big job that Sanford was going to get, and he's now y'all's head coach.
Yes. Yeah. And he would tell you quite a journey and quite a ride. In 15, Boise State leads and beats Arizona Fiesta Bowl, one of the hottest commodities, goes to Notre Dame, some ups and downs with Mr. Kelly, and then goes to Western Kentucky head coach and PJ Fleck in Minnesota. So, oh my gosh, our boys. And I remind him of it. Like what you're getting from a coaching perspective, from a guy for 25 years that's been there and done it at the highest levels of college, you are getting big-time college football. Our playbooks, big time, our, the way we practice and don't forget, probably shaped the most, honestly, by Chris Peterson, Boise, and Stanford with Harbaugh and David Shaw in his years there. So it's been a blast. I watch more college football, I'll say this too, Lance, through this. It's been 4 months with Mike and then coaching. I think in these 4 months, I now watch college football more differently than I did in my 19 years in the booth because of just the scheme, the background, all of the things that he did at all those different places. And I'm like, oh, that's Stanford. Oh, that's RPO Minnesota. Oh, that's Notre Dame spread. Oh, that's, Boise State, which our offense is about 70% Boise State. Like, yeah, man, it's fun to see it through those lenses now as well.
Okay, I'm one of those guys, I typically shy away from the officiating, although Puka was held. The kick would have been much easier yesterday. The taunting was absolutely awful. But the egregious 3 calls in the Auburn-Oklahoma game, if I'm an Auburn fan, my head is exploding. Let's start with the first one that they talked about. Hey, we're really going to make an emphasis on, the hidden player going to the sideline. We asked Joel Klatt earlier today on the next round, the last time he's been involved in a play like that. He said, I think it was a 7th or 8th grade team. Very, very hokey. They get away with it. Ben Arbuckle makes the call. They score the touchdown there. It proves to be a really, really big touchdown. But let's start with that play. Last time you've seen that play run, and have you ever been involved in a game where that play was run?
Yeah, I think early in my college career, I remember somebody in getting penalized for it. And I can't remember. I apologize. It was in my early years, Lance, it was one of those power school versus, Sun Belt or MAC or, and those teams just trying, right, to chase every edge possible and take advantage of something. I believe they got called for it because, again, within the rule, like the intent of the rule is, that obviously should have been called. It was trying to be kind of deceitful and not even in the gray. Like, that's just, come on, man. As you said, I don't know. You're frustrated. You're more than frustrated if you're on the plains for a multitude of calls. And I'll say this too, Lance, and I don't know if you all got there with Joel, probably not, but he and I have done the UFL for the last 4 or 5 years. And the UFL has tried to be on the forefront of, hey, can we do this? And what about this? And what about we have, officials, and there's Mike Prayer explaining everything away. You know what else they've done the last couple of years, which needs to happen, just like it does in big league baseball, as it does in the minor leagues. They need to have, 2 or 3 times in the major league level where a player, a pitcher, a hitter can tap his head and say, it's not a strike. And you go to replay, and they could do it in about 5 seconds. And the UFL has done this. Because how fast the game is, you can't see everything. The UFL has given the coach the opportunity to have a challenge of anything on the field. If it is a penalty that was called, a penalty that was not called, and they don't have 10 of them, they don't have 5 of them, and it becomes strategic of when you want to use that thing. But I've loved it in the UFL. It's come to play a few different times in some big moments. And these officials can't get everything right. They're human beings.
Yeah, but we've got the technology now.
I would love to see that.
And I think we all want the play to be called the right way. And I even appreciate the transparency. And I don't know if you saw this last week, but Clemson, Georgia Tech, the ACC allowed, which going back to your broadcast, they allowed you to hear command center and the back and forth and the communication. And I think the transparency is important because I would love to hear what the explanation was on the scoop and score that would have put Auburn up 7-0 on why they decided to say that ball was incomplete and it wasn't a scoop and score. Because watching it with the naked eye on the couch and then watching the replay, I don't know how that gets overturned.
Yeah, just that transparency helps. I mean, it really helps. Again, they're all human beings. There is some judgment in certain instances. There is some judgment of intent in certain instances. But I think it would help, just quiet some of that storm if you could hear, right? If you could just hear that communication, that this is why we called this. This is the way we see it. Whether you agree or disagree, at least they're looking at what they're supposed to look at. They're trying to do it by the letter of the law. They're having their opinion. And I bet you see more of that. That again, to your point, was something the UFL with the command center and with Mike Pereira really wanted out there. Heck, for the UFL games, when you go to them, Lance, they actually put that on the big screen in the building. It's one of the coolest things. And so the whole crowd is like dead silent listening to Pereira talk through with the white hat why we're doing this. And here's the rule, and here's the intent, and here's the opinion, and you move forward with it. And yeah, hopefully that is something we see a little bit more of because to your point, we have the technology to do that now. Those things can be expedited. It can be moved quickly, and hopefully in the years to come, it can be a part of it.
You have spoken a lot on the difficulty of breaking a streak. Nebraska has now lost 29 consecutive games against ranked teams. That is insane. But I said this yesterday. I thought the Rams plus 3.5 was an incredible play. I stayed away with our subscribers because it was a very trendy pick, and Jordan Davis takes it to the house unneeded, but they cover, which would have been like unexplainable in that situation. How that actually happens.
Oh, painful. Beyond painful.
I mean, is that one of those that he probably should have fallen on?
Probably, but you're going to, there's a lot of inertia in play in that one. He's a big man.
But anyway, my point there was the Rams have lost 10 of 11 to Philadelphia, and I told somebody, not only is it a trendy play, they've got an Eagles problem. The reason I bring this up, Alabama heads to Athens to take on Georgia. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite. Should be an incredible atmosphere. They're doing a blackout again, which I don't understand. They did it in 2008. Alabama kicked them in the junk. Very embarrassing moment, early on for Mark Richt back in 2008. Early on, I should say, for Nick Saban. But they're going to do it again. Georgia Kirby Smart has an Alabama problem. He's 1-5 against Alabama. I know you loved Gunnar Stockton and how he played in Neyland last week. Ty Simpson over the last couple of weeks has been fantastic. How do you see Alabama at Georgia with Georgia having an Alabama problem right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, how you reference Nebraska, you reference the Rams, right? We talked about that with Tennessee and Georgia, and just some of these, Sean Payton in our Denver market says, when he took over the job with the Broncos, and he hadn't done this, he hadn't done that, and he said, well, that's not my hump. like camel's hump like that. That wasn't me. None of us were here. None of us were around. Now, in some of these cases, they have been around.
Did you ever
right?
have a
Kirby
hump like
has,
that? Did you have an Oregon hump or USC, or was there anybody in the old back when you played the Pac-10?
No, back in our day, that was not the case. It eventually became the case as Oregon really owned that rivalry. Wazoo, the Southern Cal schools, I didn't have any of those necessarily, but I watched some of those, and I've referenced the Cougs and Couging it, and just like, man, we've got to get over this hump, this mentality. I watched the Seahawks with the 49ers when it was Carroll and Harbaugh, and like, man, they just own that. I've watched it with the Mariners and the Astros over the weekend, and good thing for my Mariners to finally bury that thing. So eventually it can happen. Talent is a big part of that, but it does play a role. It's remarkable. New names. And you would think, honestly, Lance, if in any of the sports, you would think it would be college because it's so stinking transactional now, right? You would think college football should have none of that. I mean, I remember calling that huge Apple Cup a couple years ago with Cam Ward at Wazoo via Incarnate Word, Michael Penix at Washington via Tampa, Florida to Bloomington, Indiana. Like there was no background. There were no ties to anything called an Apple Cup in their life. They never grew up even watching it. So you would think because of that transactional nomadic nature of college football, it shouldn't exist and it shouldn't be a problem. But as we learned at Neyland Stadium a couple weeks ago, some things are a little harder to bury than others.
The Manning family is the first family of football, really the first family of quarterbacks. The Huard clan is kind of the Manning light. I mean, everybody in your family played quarterback, played it at a high level. But I wanted to bring up Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback now for Lane Kiffin, and how good he's looked with Austin Simmons going down with an injury. Did any of you guys, and do you think it is fair for a guy to lose his starting job to an injury if the other guy is playing that well? Ever happened to you? Ever happened to a nephew, a brother?
That's the way it goes, man. Yeah. I mean, that's why a lot of guys will do all they can to never come off the field, right? Never. And especially when you're in a situation like that, I think you understand that just about everybody that Lane Kiffin has had play for him, wherever he's been, has played at a very high level. And you want to be the next one, that next cog in that machine to kind of keep that thing going. And if you get knocked out of that machine and somebody else comes in that actually may be a little twitchier and a little faster than you, right, that throws it just as good as you, and now he's gaining the confidence of his teammates and gaining the confidence of his coaches, that's the way it goes. I'm sorry. That is, whether that's the NFL, whether that's college football, especially college football. Hey, man, like you're going to get your opportunity. You got to maximize it. You got to seize it. If you don't, more often than not, there's going to be somebody that's just transferred in that wants that job, is going to take that job. And I agree with you. Right now, from an upside end production standpoint, the kid has outplayed the other and should get that opportunity.
Blown away with how dominant defensively both Texas Tech and Oklahoma were. But the best overall performance of the weekend, Kirk Cignetti in Indiana. Look, I thought so well coached last year, an incredible season, the best in history, going 11-2. But I said it last week, I believe this Indiana team is better. I did not see the destruction. I did have a -6.5 over the Illini. But the way Mendoza's playing, by the way, I got to say this, and he could crash and burn, but I said a couple of months ago, he will be the first overall selection in the NFL draft in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
But he looked absolutely fantastic this past week. Their defense was dominant. You had an opportunity in a couple of your meetings, I think last year, to sit down with Cignetti. Am I right about that?
I did not have Cignetti last year. We certainly had a lot of crossover tape.
Yeah.
And I had heard through the grapevine of a lot of very entertaining conversations.
He's a
and what he
confident
does
guy.
With a oh my gosh, what he does with a microphone in front of him, he does in recruiting meetings, he does crossing paths with other coaches on the recruiting trail. Like he doesn't fake the funk on the nasty dunk like Chris Webber used to say in Michigan. He doesn't do any of that. He is who he is. And now I will say this, Lance, and I didn't know this. I was chatting with a USC coach last night as they get ready to play Illinois, and he reminded me that Illinois was down 6 of their 7 DBs in that game. And some of the cats that they had trying to fill in and play were way overmatched, which you saw. Taking nothing away from Cignetti nor Mendoza, I'm trying to figure out, who does your eye see? If you placed him on that pedestal, which I love that take and I love that projection. I'm not quite there yet. But to your eye, who does he remind you of? Do you see in his game? What do you see?
So the first time that I saw him play, this is going to be a bad comp for the college level. I think he's almost a Ken Dorsey at the college level. And that obviously didn't translate well to the NFL, but he's bigger. I mean, he's 6'5", he's a lean 225. He just doesn't make mistakes, and he stands in the pocket so well, and he's more athletic than a lot of people will give him credit for. I've really not thought of a comp, but watching him at the collegiate level, I see some Dorsey.
Yeah. Well, that's a terrible comp because Dorsey had a horrible release and threw a horrible ball, and the thing came out like this with the nose down. I love the toughness of it, and that dude was a winner. So I don't mean to diminish Mr. Ken in any way, but the body, the athleticism, the arm, the fundamentals, he is clean, Lance. And I don't mean to rip you for that.
No, the first time I saw him was 2 years ago when he came in late for Cal, and then I watched the entire game against USC where he just went toe to toe with a freaking Caleb Williams and some of the throws he was making. By the way, Justin Wilcox, I don't know what happened this weekend, but I was about to give him so much credit, and that was just an awful performance. But his hands are tied in with that program and NIL and everything. So I don't blame Mendoza for bolting. I don't know, and he's such a soft-spoken kid.
He is. I'm having a hard time, honestly. I'm having a hard time through these last 2, 3, 4 years of finding somebody, because you're right. He is a bigger guy. I mean, he's kind of built from the guys of my era, to be honest with you, where there were a lot more 6'5", 220-pound kind of guys. He is so clean in his fundamentals. We talk about Arch Manning and some of his fundamentals and what are we doing here? Mendoza's kind of a throwback. He is clean. The ball is up. There is no wasted movement. And they don't do a lot. Like Indiana, if you want to nerd out, in the weeks to come, if they continue on this pace and nerd out with Joel Klatt, they don't do a million things. They do a ton of RPO, and he is so clean in his delivery, and that ball is out, and his motion is so repeatable. So his accuracy in these numbers you're seeing, like, how are you completing 80% of your passes? How are you doing this? It's because of that repeatability. It's because of the comfort in a scheme that in this day and age of college football, you better keep simple as you have new pieces come in. But he is right now, to your point, a really clean prospect that if he plays at this level is absolutely playing himself into an NFL first-round conversation.
Well, congratulations to your Huskies. The Apple Cup is a far cry from what it used to be. I don't think Wazoo is any good this year, but you guys do exactly what you needed to do. But now you talked about Husky Stadium and how wild it will be this weekend. You guys are only an 8.5-point underdog to Ohio State. I want to bring this up. Damon Williams seems like a very dynamic quarterback and perfect for Jed Fish. But something you brought up after week 1 of the season, Washington up front. Ohio State is super physical. And I know it's undefeated. It is one of the, maybe outside of Austin, maybe it still is the best West Coast environment, home environment. But up front, are they going to be able to play with Ohio State?
No, I think just straight toe to toe and just physically where you're at. Now you've got a veteran tackle in Carver Willis from Kansas State that's been super solid. The right tackle has done a phenomenal job. PFF would tell you he's one of the best right tackles going in the game. He's really grown his game from last year. You saw it get better. The Hatchett brothers, their dad, Billy, played for my dad at Puyallup High School in the 90s. So there's always some connection somehow, some way to Puyallup High School. Super solid. Last year, this would not have been a competitive environment, as it wasn't at Iowa up front, right? It just was not. It was boys versus men. This year, it is some young men versus men. And at home, there's an opportunity. And Damon Williams' speed makes an enormous difference, Lance. I mean, it just does. I mean, he erases some of those arm tackles, and he erases some of those edges that would be really problematic if you couldn't move. Jonah Coleman equally erases some of those challenges because you're not arm tackling Jonah Coleman. You better stick your face right in the fan and try to hit some kind of surface area that he doesn't have when he comes at you. And then Boston on the outside. I mean, that triumvirate right there it's not known to the country yet. It's going to get its opportunity Saturday to make the greatest case possible. But as far as a trio in all of college football, Jonah Coleman, Desmond Boston, and Damon Williams are, from an upside talent standpoint, right there with anybody. I'm not saying they're the best, but it's not like you can take a receiver, running back, and quarterback from other teams and go, oh, yeah, you're head and shoulders above these guys. They are in the conversation with any triumvirate in college football, and they're going to have to be their best because that's that side of the ball. The other side is even more problematic, trying to handle the speed, trying to handle the wide receiver core, trying to handle that line of scrimmage. That defense for Washington is going to have its hands full Saturday afternoon.
I get a ton wrong. My biggest swing and a miss early on this season is Clemson. I think that's for a lot of people. Our videographer, Scott Forster, back there had them winning the national championship. Joel Klatt admitted today he had them winning the national championship. Our boy Dabo goes on this rant last week about we could bottom out and go 6-6, but I don't think so. And then as a 17.5-point favorite at home, they lose to Syracuse and a backup in the second half quarterback for Syracuse. If I would have said at this point through 4 games, Clemson had the 11th overall best total defense in college football, that would make sense. They are 11th in total defense in the ACC right now, and they're 1-3 with some losable games coming up. Can you put a finger? I don't know where you were on Clemson coming into this season. You had coach that's won multiple national championships. You had, as Klatt pointed out, 3 maybe first-round guys on that defense. You had maybe one of the most experienced, proven quarterbacks in college football, and they're 1-3.
Yeah. Klubnik was always a concern to me, Lance. We talked about that after week 1. Like, there's just something there in the delivery. If, our fella up there in Bloomington is repeatable, Mendoza is repeatable, and the accuracy is repeatable. I just had never felt that way in 3 years with Cade. I always felt it was just inconsistent in some of his accuracy, and he's not been able to erase some of those issues. And this has not been all on one side of the ball, all Cade Klubnik. It's been offense, it's been defense, it's been shrinking in big moments. It's kind of been all of it. And because of it, you're off to a disastrous start. Yeah, with a lot of other teams, you maybe felt like, wow, I don't know with Miami. There's a lot of new pieces coming in and the new quarterback. And I don't know about Indiana, Mendoza, and all the guys they lost. And I don't know about Michigan, not at Clemson. I mean, they had as many like repeatable, like known commodities on paper with experience with the resume and the coordinator back and the head coach stability. Yeah, it's a problem in Clemson, and we'll see whether or not they can even get to 6 or 7 wins this year.
Okay, because we originate with this show out of Birmingham, I've got to ask you this, because both Alabama and Auburn on the road against top 10 teams in rowdy environments in College Station and in Athens, better chance in the state of going on the road and winning outright. Auburn in College Station against A&M, who is currently 9th nationally, or Alabama going in and taking on number 5 Georgia?
Oh man, that is a tough one right there. I think they both honestly have great chances. Jackson Arnold's got to get back to running rounds, right? They've got to get him in a little bit more space than they were able to do with an Oklahoma team in a venue that was not friendly to him as a player when he was a Sooner and wasn't terribly friendly to him over the weekend. So the only shot they got is to get him in space. A&M coming off of a bye, correct? They didn't play this last weekend?
Correct.
Yeah, that doesn't help either. So they are going to be rested. They're going to be hungry. Oh man, we got the 12th man up in Seattle, and I know it originated in A&M, and there were lawsuits and everything else. That's going to be, I think, a tough one. I'd give Alabama that much more for everything we talked about earlier. I don't think they're going to be overwhelmed. While a very loud and a very raucous setting, it's not A&M where the noise just kind of sits on you and it doesn't escape. The confidence I think the Ty has built the last couple of weeks, that their offense has built the last couple of weeks, all of the noise early in the season that was ready to run Kalen out of town, that can really bring a group together. It has on the field the previous couple of weeks. They had a bye. Yeah, I'd give a slight lean to Alabama in that way.
Okay, I apologize because I did not bring the card in with me. Your 5 picks last week. Do we know what you were?
No, I do not know. I'm sadly trying to remember it. I think I had Nebraska beating Michigan, thinking I had them getting over the hump because the scene was going to be too big for the freshmen. They had every opportunity to close that thing out and ultimately did not. I think I had Oklahoma. I'm sorry. I don't have it with me, too.
Yeah.
Next week, we got to be better with that.
But let's do this on the fly real quick. 5 games. Okay, so Auburn is catching 6.5 at A&M. You want Auburn plus 6.5 or A&M minus the 6.5?
I would like to say Auburn. I've liked Auburn. I've liked their
By
speed.
the way, I had them plus 6.5 this weekend, and a safety with 1 minute and 8 seconds left lost the game by a half for me.
Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Auburn in the points. I think that's going to be a close game. I don't think A&M runs away from them. I think they keep it close. I think A&M wins, but give me Auburn in the points in that one.
Okay, this is a tough game. Ole Miss at home minus 2.5 over LSU.
I'm going to say LSU because defense travels. And what they're doing on that side of the ball, I think the defense for them travels. I have not liked them offensively. Sorry, Brian Kelly, don't yell at me. But I have not seen anything that, presents on tape of scaring an Ole Miss defense that can be vulnerable. But I think ultimately that defense wins championships, that defense travels, and LSU finds a way.
Okay, I need to know this. If Illinois is missing 5 of 6 DBs and now they're going against Jaden Maeva, and that USC, all of those weapons, USC minus 7. It's an early body clock game for the Trojans, but do you like USC minus the 7 or the Illini plus the 7?
I'm going to say USC is going to do this. They're going to go on the road. They did it earlier up at Purdue. Their defense scares the heck out of me. SC's corners are not very good. Illinois will get one player back. He had a targeting, so he will come back. Had another with an ankle that will likely come back. So that is something to watch, the health of the Illini over the course of the week. But the run game, the balance, what USC does offensively, I'm gonna give a really close lean, and maybe there's some familial blood going on there. I'm gonna give a lean to SC going 5-0.
I hate playing the early games, and this year I'd surprisingly been pretty good until an 0-2 this past week, en route to a 7-4 Saturday. But Notre Dame, Arkansas is early. I've said this all offseason. If this game was late, this is a big problem for Notre Dame. The one thing that I love, there is a difference in the 2024 Marcus Freeman defense to the defense I've seen this September. I don't think this Notre Dame defense is very good. This total 64.5. I love the over in Notre Dame, Arkansas, at least early. But if I asked you Notre Dame minus 5.5, early 11 o'clock kick in Fayetteville.
I think Arkansas is going to score a lot of points. I think Petrino, that is a very simple Chris Ash defense there for Notre Dame. You referenced.
Do you not agree? It looks a lot different.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If this is at Notre Dame at night, I think that's a very different animal than it is Notre Dame on the road in that place that is going to be just licking their chops after a loss that they should not have had. So I think you're going to get desperation. I think you're going to get some tremendous scheme. I think the dual threat nature of that quarterback, I'm going to I'll take a swing at this one. I'll take Arkansas to win that game, not just get those 6.5, but find a way to win it.
Okay, plus, actually, we're going to go at 5.5. And then finally, the big tilt in Athens, Alabama taking on a Georgia team. We didn't even get to Oregon, Penn State. Let's do Oregon, Penn State instead. I'm gonna keep Georgia, Alabama. So Penn State minus 3.5. We know the troubles that James Franklin has had with top 10 teams. Now they get another opportunity here. Drew Aller hasn't looked really good against bad competition. Dante Moore has been fantastic in that Will Stein offense. But Penn State minus 3.5 in Happy Valley. Who do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, if this were at Oregon, I think Oregon would be favored by 6.5, and I think I would take the Ducks. The fact they've got to travel 5 hours, they've got to play in that venue. Dante is going to be up against something he's not been. That front seven is unbelievably salty. I'm going to give Penn State the lean there. That's going to be a heck of a ball game. Wow, we have an unbelievable week of college football.
Yeah,
Those are going to be.
So there you go.
Those are going to be some tell the truth Saturday kind of games for sure.
From Coach Huard, he has got the Auburn Tigers plus the 6.5, LSU plus 2.5, USC laying 7 on the road in Champaign, Arkansas plus the 5.5. 3 SEC dogs, by the way, in Penn State minus 3.5 against Oregon at home, 6:30 NBC game there. Hey, look, have a great weekend. Can't wait to see what Titus does this week. And can't wait to have you back on Monday.
Matchup. Top 5, tell the truth Friday, tell the truth Saturday, tell the truth Sunday. It's going to be quite a weekend for us.
I see a Colts jersey behind you real quick. Lena had the Colts, one of the biggest surprises in the NFL. Now I got to go to Sci-Fi to take on the Rams. Rams 4.5-point favorite. You think Rams can bounce back from that tough loss?
Yeah, I think the Rams bounce back.
I hope so. Hey,
I think they'll be a little salty.
Our friends at Unlocked always brought to you by our friends at mybookie.ag. Promo code next round, very important. Any bet you choose up to $500 fully covered. Make your play. If it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using the bet back bonus token. Code word next round, mybookie.ag. Brock, be good, my friend.
Let's go, Lancer. Let's go. And just remember, the sun came up today. That Rams loss will be a distant memory 10, 12 weeks from now. And those battles with the Seahawks are going to really define the NFC West this year.
We shall
I sure
see.
hope so.
It's Unlocked right here. Like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up.